what are the most effective strategies for keeping team members motivated over the longer term? Well, this is so well documented as it baffles me that companies struggle here, and they do struggle. Most of the clients that I work with, when you talk to them about motivation, they talk about money. Okay? Money is not a motivator. Okay? It's a hygiene factor. You have to offer enough money for the whoever to not actually be bothered about the money itself. So you have to offer enough to take the conversation off the table. Anything you offer beyond that point is nice, don't get me wrong. I'm sure we all want more money because kind of how the world works today. But it doesn't motivate you. It doesn't make you work harder. It doesn't deliver better output or outcome. So it's not a good answer. We need to offer enough. And many of the companies who talk about it, brutally honest, aren't offering enough. So that's why they're seeing it as a motivator, because they haven't hit that point where they're actually offering the people enough money to do the job fully. Right. So we've got to look somewhere else. I'm a big fan of Dan Pink's work in the book Drive. So autonomy, mastery, and purpose. These three key levels. Okay. Autonomy, giving people the ability to make their decisions on how they solve the problems, how they do their job. As Scrum Masters, we will recognize this in a well-working Scrum team. There's not somebody else telling them what to do and how to do it. As a team, they own that. They know how to do their job. They bring their skills, and if they don't have the skills, they go out and learn those skills or buy them in temporarily if they need to add somebody to the team. Whatever it is they need to do as a self-managing unit, they have the autonomy to do so. And that's fantastic, because once people own the how, you can set them the what, they own the how. Okay? They can play around with it, they can explore the space. They can use their skills, their knowledge, bring that to bear. They're not just filling in somebody else's blanks. They're doing a real valuable job. Okay? Which brings me to mastery. They're doing a job that they can consciously, deliberately get better at. And this is a very important thing. I'm sure many of you, if you're spending the however many minutes this video ends up to be listening it, are people who go out of their way to be better. They want to do a better job today than they could yesterday. Okay? And that's not a strange thing. That's an almost universal thing in people. We want to learn. We want to improve. We are, ultimately, as human beings, amazing learning machines. We continue to do it every day of our lives, consciously or unconsciously. Many of us choose consciously. Developers, product owners, Scrum Masters, actually just about everybody who operates inside the knowledge working world goes out of their way to learn continuously, because there might be a better way of doing this job. Right? We don't operate in the world of best practice where there's one way, just do that and we're done. We are creating the practices as we go. They're emerging from what we do. There are good practices, there are novel, there are emergent practices. Okay? The combination of several ideas may be the trick to solving the problem in front of us. We don't have this simple space where there's just good answers. There's just that answer and we move on. So we need to keep learning, we need to keep exploring, we need to keep synthesizing these new ideas. Okay? And that is really what this is all about. I have totally forgotten the question, mate.
Freddie, it was about how do you sustain... Am I still muted?
No.
Oh.
How do you
sustain motivation over the long term?
Got it, thank you. That just totally went out of my head. So as you're continuing to learn, you're mastering your skills, you're mastering your role, you're getting better. And we want to be good at our role. I'm going to assume that about just about everybody. In fact, I'm going to assume that about everybody I work with until they prove otherwise. I know you want to be better at your role. Okay. Now, what your role is may be not what I think it is, and we need to close that gap. Okay. You do, you want to improve. So in the Scrum world, in the Agile world, we have that option. And its most basic form is the retrospective, that ability to take some time out from the sprint or from whatever your iteration is called or your flow-based mechanism is called. Okay, some time out to deliberately and consciously improve, be better than you were? What do we change in the relationships and the tools, the techniques, the approach to be better? What's our hypothesis? What's the experiment to test that hypothesis? Okay. Many people that I talk to still quote the 10,000 hour rule popularized by Malcolm Gladwell. 10,000 hours to be an expert. It's just not true. Okay. The research didn't say 10,000 hours makes you an expert. It said experts had practiced at least 10,000 hours. But so had the really good ones. Not the great, just the good. The difference wasn't the number of hours that they practiced. It was how they practiced in those hours. If you go out and you look at some of the best in their field, do they practice a lot? Yes. But not in the same way as we may initially think. They're going to break their discipline down into very small pieces, and each one of those is going to be very deliberately practiced. And it's that deliberate practice that makes the difference. If you talk to a first chair of an orchestra, they are not going to just wake up of the morning, knock out the piece that they're focused on, and then put the violin down. They're going to look at the opening bars and perfect them, and they're going to move on through it piece by piece by piece, until for that entire piece of music, each few bars, they can play with the right passion, the right intensity, the right emotions. And bringing it all together is then seemingly the practice. But the practice was the hours of just looking at small pieces, carefully, with diligence, with feedback. Okay? And getting it right and moving on, and getting it right and moving on, and coming back to the start and getting it right and moving on. It's this repetition. 10,000 hours is needed to become great at what you do, but it's not sufficient. You need to be deliberate. And in our teams, we need to look at that, and we need to think about how are we deliberately practicing our roles. Violinists, athletes, pilots, they all practice at their jobs. Why is it we in product development don't? What I would say is, for mastery, the idea of agile in general is that we are able to solve these problems faster. We're able to move quicker, okay? Able to meet customers' needs. Okay? Use that time that you're saving and reinvest some of it into being better in your role and as a team. Not only the retrospective, but go further. What else can you do to be better? When I was a software developer, I did every day 20 minutes a coding kata. I spent some time solving a known problem. I wasn't trying to solve the problem for the first time. Things like the bowling game or shopping carts and things like that. I knew how to solve the problem. In fact, you can still look them up today and just get the answers. But what I did was I typed out the same things every day and got better. I learned my IDE more. I learned actually how to type quicker, where my fingers sat naturally on the keys, things like that. We evolved our systems to be able to code faster, to get it into testing faster. I improved my abilities in TDD and things like that, design of systems. All of these different aspects of my role got better because every day I took 20 minutes to be better. So we have that ability. And the final one being purpose. Why does it matter? It's really interesting. When we talk to people, many of them are purpose-driven. They want to know what it is, what's the difference they've made in the world today. Right? And those days where you've struggled at work is probably because when you look back, you're not sure what the difference is. What's changed because you turned up at work today? Okay? So we need to grasp that. When I'm talking to product owners and indeed Scrum Masters, I'm likely going to be talking about product visions and product goals. Why? What's the difference that you're going to make to the world in you creating this product or improving this product? What's coming on? We need to work with our product owners. We need to work with our stakeholders, our sponsors, our whole organizations to be able to explain why this stuff matters. Firstly, because it makes it so much easier to explain to our customers why this stuff matters. And that's great for marketing. But for me, as important is we need to be able to explain to our developers, our Scrum Masters, our product owners, why this stuff matters. The difference between a knowledge worker working really hard and daydreaming, from the outside, it's indistinguishable. I could be sat at my machine thinking incredibly hard and doing nothing else. And you wouldn't know, or I could be just sat there staring at a blank screen. Because it all happens in your head. So we can't tell from the outside whether or not they're working hard. We have to trust that they are. We have to make them want to work hard. And the key there is purpose. Give them a reason to turn up to work. Make them want to. If you've got an option between building a system and delivering a change to somebody's life, talk about the change. Talk about the outcome, not the output. Work with your product owners to articulate why this matters. Because then when your developers turn up to work, when your BAs turn up to work, when your product owner themselves turns up to work, they're going to want to achieve that outcome. How they do it, well, that's the autonomy piece. That's up to them. But they've turned up because they want to make a difference in the world. When we pull on these three levers, we can really start working on that team's motivation, keep them engaged throughout. And as they change, we can keep coming back and looking at it. Are they displaying the signs of autonomy? Have we allowed them sufficient autonomy, agency to be able to do the job? Could they take more? Do they have a way of becoming better, improving their mastery? And is the purpose, the why behind what we're doing, clear? It doesn't have to be a cause-based why. We don't have to talk about, the social good. It could be we are making the best one of these products in the world, and that's what catches people's attention. That's what drives them forwards. But is it driving them forwards? And if it isn't, how do we re-articulate it so that we keep that momentum, we keep that engagement? Because with motivation really does come the ability to deliver amazing outcomes for our customers.